Oh, hello. What the dickens? I have to grow a full beard to do that. Oh! Ooh. Professor? Yeah! Can we see Captain Marvel? Oh no, Andy. I saw it at the cinema, and it was crap. Very boring. If you don't watch Captain Marvel with me, then I'll poo in your bed. Let's go watch Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, what is it? A hero? What? A female superhero? A male superhero? But without a penis? Surely not. What a novelty! Such creative innovation! It's never been done before! Except for Wonder Woman, Catwoman, Supergirl, Harley Quinn. But they weren't made by Disney's Marvel Studios, so they don't count. Ugh. It was hard to ignore the marketing campaign for Captain Marvel with clickbait articles galore and Disney's marketing shills gushing over this mediocre movie. When I see there's lots of clickbait hit pieces and pandering to identity politics, to me that just raises more red flags than communist China. They even got the ghost of Stan Lee to tweet about this crap. Even in the afterlife, you couldn't escape this film. Still, I'd be surprised if a movie came out these days that didn't have this sort of clickbait bollocks attached to it. It's just so commonplace now. When something gets hyped up a lot, that just makes me very wary of it. It's as if the marketing team steering the hype train don't have much faith in their product. Antagonistic marketing is the norm now, and if the movie is bad, then you can deflect any criticism by calling the critics sexist alt-right trolls, or incels, or Russian bots, or whatever slur can rile people up these days. And that just makes manufactured controversy, which creates more publicity than any mere trailer can. So fuck it, I guess I'm a celibate sexist Russian. Oh, sugabliate vagina! Well, at least now I can finally give my thoughts on this film, since I managed to get a copy. That fell off the back of a pirate ship. While the Marvel shills touted this film as some sort of female empowerment cultural landmark that is totally amazeballs, I can assure you it's just more mundane Marvel tripe. We start the mediocrity with our heroine, Carol Danvers, played not so expertly by Brie Larson.
My God, you're greasy.
She's stuck in Wakanda. Or is it the Junk City from Thor Ragnarok? Or the Guardians of the Galaxy Future City? Who cares? Some generic futuristic computer-generated place. She's got plot amnesia and has been adopted by a race called the Kree, who've made her a member of an elite group called Star Force. Very original name. The film is eager to show how strong and capable she is from the get-go, and has Jude Law training her by beating her up to vent his frustrations over his receding hairline. During this scene, Jude tells her she's too emotional and needs to control her feelings, which she does anyway throughout the film because Brie can't emote for toffee. After meeting with a supreme artificial intelligence resembling a cool wine aunt, she goes on a top-secret mission to find a secret Kree operative. Unlucky for Star Force, that mission goes tits up, and Carol gets kidnapped by the Dark Elves from Thor 2, I think. Oh, it all looks the fucking same to me now. She gets captured by green goblins called the Skrull, who give her a good hard probing of her mind. There, they see all the times men were big meanies to her. Oh, and also they're trying to find something on Earth. We see that Carol was a fighter pilot living on Earth and knew someone who looked like the Supreme AI, but Carol assumes it's just mind tricks. She breaks out using her fisting powers because she's amazing, and we get more great Brie Larson acting. After breaking some spinal columns, she crash lands on Earth in the 90s, slap bang in the middle of a blockbuster video shop. Prepare for more of these references too. We finally reached that point where retro 80s is out. Now it's time for a 90s revival. So Danvers is stuck on Earth while shape-shifting goblins are looking for a MacGuffin made by an old lady called Mar-Vell, who was also Carol's mentor. They are led by evil Aussie alien Ben Mendelsohn, who is good for the most part, but muffles his lines through his face prosthetics when he's a green goblin.
Okay, that's a fair point.
With Carol crash landing on our planet, she starts drawing the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we get Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson playing Nick No Eye Patch Fury. He's been de-aged, which means wearing sunglasses and a hairpiece made of Velcro. We are then tortured with terrible lines of dialogue as Brie Larson tries to be sassy and cute, but the delivery is so poor that she comes off as a condescending twant.
Congratulations, Agent Fury. You have finally asked a relevant question.
Bitch!
Bloody hell, they give just about anyone an Oscar these days. I think Brie Larson was terribly miscast. She brings very little charisma or energy to her role. The only energy coming from her is all fucking CGI. When she's not grimacing like she's smelt an eggy fart, she's putting on a bland mannequin expression that makes her look like she's bored of the very film she's in. I understand, my dear. Throughout the film I was pulling that face too. Perhaps Stinky French Cheese would be better cast as someone more serious and demure, or maybe even a villain. But she's certainly not fitting for Happy Quippy Hero Funtime Marvel movie number 2678. Maybe if this Marvel thing doesn't work out, you can go back to your old singing career.
And your plastic diamond ring.
Oh, sweet Jesus! Once Brie has established more of her passive-aggressive nature, the Skrulls try and assassinate her, but fail, regrettably. Greasy Girl gives chase and runs off to the train fight scene we saw in all the trailers, where she also assaults shape-shifting grandmas. Heh, elder abuse never looked so cool. Stan Lee is spinning in his grave. Carol loses the trail of the Skrulls and decides to indulge in some vehicle theft. So she robs from the first man to smile at her, although this was originally not the case. In a deleted scene, she outright physically harms him for being just a little flirty. Tee-hee, just girl things. This is our virtuous hero of the day? I sure am rooting for you after hurting a civilian for no good reason. No wonder it was cut. After seeing Danvers' amazing fisting powers and realizing aliens live among us and are trying to get senior citizen discounts on their train tickets, Nick magically tracks down Stinky Cheese to quickly build up a relationship. So they team up to create some black-on-blonde action in a forced buddy-cop relationship. Except in this case, the buddies are a superhero on Ambien and a 70-year-old in makeup playing a 40-year-old. He's not exactly a sprightly motherfucker either. The pair figure they need more info, so they go to a secret military base and rummage through old files to find out what the late Miss Vel was working on, a faster-than-light drive. Carol then finds photos of her as a pilot amongst the files and figures out she's an Earthling. It's not a revelation, though, because we saw all this in her memory flashbacks. There's no impact to it, and Brie can't emote for shit. Also, Samuel goes around grabbing stray pussy. Shape-shifting Aussie, Ben, disguised as the head of S.H.I.E.L.D., is onto them, and after a short-lived fight that ends with Brie giving him a good fisting, the non-dynamic duo steal an aircraft, along with a computer-generated cat, so Brie can find her old friend from her time in the US Chair Force. She finds her single mum friend and gets some more of her memories back, as well as characters blowing smoke up her ass about how great she is. Not only this, but the Green Goblins show up to do a heel-face turn. All that mind-probing and those fist-fights were just one big misunderstanding, apparently. They actually need Carol to help find the faster-than-light drive, which they can use to escape the Kree, who are actually baddies. The Kree are working with Thanos' right-hand man, Ronin, who is sending his evil armada to Earth and are going to wipe out the Skrull. The Goblins are actually hard done by refugees looking for a new home, so, of course, Brie agrees to help. She instinctively trusts a race of shape-shifting subversive aliens who excel at deception and manipulation. A race whose members have up to this point mind-raped her, shot at her, and held her friend's daughter hostage. Are you surprised they're at war with the Kree? The Goblins have a black box recording of the events that gave Carol glowing fists and amnesia. We get more flashback crap because the writers can't do exposition well. Apparently, a test flight with Mar-Vell went horribly wrong, and after it crashed, Carol got her powers by blowing up the experimental engine before it could fall into Kree hands. The blast mysteriously gave her cool abilities rather than liquidating her insides. Then Jude Law scoops her up and brainwashes her to work for Star Force. This whole thing could be a fabrication by the Skrull, but Carol believes them because they are refugees. After a costume change, Bree and her buddies plus comic relief Kitty Cat go find Mar-Vell's Space Lab mothership, which is housing the Tesseract. As always, you've got to have an important glowing plot device in these films. It's needed because it helps create faster-than-light drives for space travel. But the Skrulls have clearly already mastered faster-than-light space travel. They kidnapped Carol and traveled to Earth in a spaceship. That would have taken years without a faster-than-light drive. You can't use that one to find a new home? Whatever. Star Force have tracked Bree down, and they force her to go see her AI boss for a virtual bollocking. Instead of being a cold, calculating AI personality, she's now a flamboyant, smarmy villain. In order for Carol to escape and get her powers back, that she lost for like 5 minutes, she starts remembering her past with jumbled flashback montages. Again. She remembers when she fell off her race car that one time as a kid, and the time she fell on her ass at boot camp, and that is apparently enough hardship to get her all supercharged. We also get this great line.
My name is Carol.
Did that sound more intimidating in your head? Carol effortlessly kicks the crap out of her former teammates while No Doubt plays in the background, so you can get more nostalgic for the 90s and girl power. It feels very out of place. Meanwhile, Fury and co are running around like retards, and the comic relief cat eats the Tesseract for safekeeping by turning into a tentacle monster. Oh, come on, Marvel. You could have at least thrown in some Japanese schoolgirls to spice things up. Ronin from Guardians of the Galaxy shows up with a fleet of ships, but Bree, armed with smugness and battle-hardened ovaries, defeats the entire alien armada flawlessly, all by herself, as well as some patriarchal penis missiles. Well, that was easy and unfulfilling. The baddies might as well be squaring up to God Almighty. She doesn't even have a decent showdown with her former mentor, Jude Law. She just blasts him in the chest and sends him on his merry way. Very unsatisfying. Thankfully, Carol fucks off with the refugee goblins, but also leaves Fury with a pager for really bad emergencies. Emergencies like an alien invasion so bad you almost nuke a civilian city, perhaps? Or cultists trying to take over the world, or killer robots. She might have come in handy when there's a civil war amongst the Avengers. You're not going to call her then, Fury? She's godlike in her abilities. She might have helped. No, it's only when he's turning into black man confetti that he makes the call. Nick seems to have his coolness stripped from him in this film. He loses an eye to a cat scratch, gets his arse whooped countless times, and doesn't really add much to the already piddly story. At the end, Fury is writing up his plans for the Avengers Initiative, but he's struggling for a name, until, in a moment of utter contrivance, he sees an old photo of Carol. Because her jet is called the Avenger, he names the initiative after it. Oh, clever. So that's where the name comes from. Good job Carol wasn't flying one of those old World War II planes. I was so bored by this film. Didn't help that a lot of it was filled with exposition and flashbacks galore. As for the writing, it was atrocious. Moments that had me eye-rolling were Nick Fury losing an eye to a cat instead of something more interesting, the Avengers Initiative being named after Carol's jet, Carol's Earth mentor being Mar-Vell, Marvel, get it? Bloody hell, some writer thought all this was very clever. It's all bollocks, and the character of Captain Marvel isn't that interesting. She just does not have a compelling character arc. While most hero films have an origin story about developing the hero's new powers and overcoming their flaws like arrogance or pride, Captain Marvel doesn't seem to have anything like this. Carol was a badass before becoming a superhero, and she becomes even more super when she remembers her past. Not even that bad a past either. Your parents weren't shot in front of you, you were taunted in boot camp, but you clearly passed and became an ace fighter pilot. You get superpowers and it's a cakewalk for you. Captain Menzies is amazingly powerful. She has far too many superpowers and abilities. She's impervious to damage. She shoots lasers, has super strength, endurance, resting bitch face, electrical engineering, power of flight, can become a human energy missile, and she's an expert pilot too. It's boring. Heroes need lots of personal struggle to be interesting and relatable. There is barely any struggle in this. A good story has good dramatic beats, moments of hardship and personal development. There's hardly any of this in Captain Marvel. She's all-powerful constantly, passive-aggressive and abrasive, yet no one pulls her up about it, and the only character development she gets is finding out her real name and that she had a past on Earth. With a character this badly written and so overpowered, it's no wonder she got so little screen time in Avengers Endgame. She could have just kicked Thanos in his Infinity Stones and called it a day, but thankfully she gets a fistful of humility instead. Brie Larson lacks screen presence and has all the charisma of a war crime. It doesn't help that the script for Captain Marvel is utterly banal. I'm not surprised the writing is bland and boring. One of the writers for this wrote the utterly mediocre Tomb Raider film that came out in 2018. Remember that film? I don't. It was really unremarkable. The same can be said of Captain Marvel. The film is the dictionary definition of generic. We've seen it all before in the male equivalent superhero films. It's a run-of-the-mill Marvel film. Hero getting to grips with their identity, computer-generated fights, and yes, the late Stan Lee has a cameo, which is kind of sweet and endearing considering he passed away. He even says to Captain Marvel, "Help! They're trying to steal my estate! If I die before November the 13th, it was murder! It was murder!" I didn't understand that reference myself, but I guess you have to read the comics or something. It's not a good movie. It fails on so many levels. The acting is terrible, especially with the delivery of quippy dialogue. It's sometimes tonally inconsistent. The editing can be jarring at times. The special effects in some parts were horrendously lackluster by Marvel standards, and the writing is uninspired. In the end, the character of Carol Danvers is just an annoying flying vagina. The only thing that is supposedly going for this film is female representation, and I don't think that's enough to make it a good film or even a great film. Representation is just a marketing ploy. Do I need to be represented in a film for it to be good? Is the human condition not universal? I do actually have empathy. I can imagine myself in someone else's shoes. Do I have to be a woman to enjoy Thelma and Louise or Wonder Woman? Do I have to be Chinese to enjoy anything Jackie Chan has been in? Do I have to be mentally retarded to enjoy I Am Sam? Maybe. All this outrage marketing with Brie Larson running her mouth off on social issues, or the clickbait articles goading people into internet discourse to boost search algorithms struck me as desperate. Yet it did work, to the tune of a cool $1.1 billion. But just because something appears popular or is popular doesn't mean it's good. As the old adage goes, eat shit, millions of flies can't be wrong. Despite the hype, this film was nothing special, just overhyped by Disney and its marketing goons. I think a lot of the manufactured controversy was just a big load of nothing. Film came out, it was boring, watch the next Marvel thing, or something else that isn't a superhero film. Yeah, well. Thanks for watching my review, you lovely viewers. Sorry it's taken so long to get out. And as for you, Marvel's marketing team, I want you to have something. I have been growing this little cactus for you. I want you to take it. I want you to take it up the arse.